Welcome. Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. On today's episode of the Prime, we're going to be breaking down the Denver Broncos. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast as we're down to our final three teams. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point Huffman. Co-host Matthew James and Mr. TJ Hopkins are with me, respectively. Gentlemen, happy Wednesday. How is everybody?
Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Tuesday. TJ?
Going well.
Hi.
Yeah, man, it's like Phoenix, Arizona weather here in Fort Wayne.
Yeah, a little bit.
I am not enjoying it, that's for sure. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right into the Denver Broncos. Let's talk about first Bo Nix, named the starting quarterback from to start the regular season. Beat out was it? I guess it doesn't really matter. He beat out Zach Wilson. The other guy's name is escaping me right now. But he is going to be the starting quarterback. Jarrett Stidham, he's going to be the starting quarterback. What are your expectations for Bo Nix year one?
Can't be any worse than what they've had. It's a pretty low bar.
It is a pretty low bar. But I think that he works in this Sean Payton system. I think he's shown that he can, do he's been arguably the best rookie quarterback in the preseason. I mean, he's really played well. He makes quick reads. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly. I think that's the perfect recipe for Sean Payton and what he wants to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said, this is, great draft pick for them, especially in Sean Payton's system. I mean, they brought in a couple guys that they can hopefully get the ball spread out to, which is what Sean Payton loves to do. And yeah, he had a great, preseason, and we'll see how that continues once the games start to matter here in the regular season and as it progresses throughout. But I mean, expectations, I mean, I wouldn't put it, too high on him. I mean, he had a great college career and all with Oregon and over in Auburn for a couple of years.
Long
And,
college career. Long.
But I mean, it's a work in progress with the Denver offense and getting it going, and now they hopefully got their guy with Bo Nix to work with.
If we're gonna put numbers on this, what kind of stats are we looking for out of Bo Nix for this season?
3,200, 25 touchdowns, maybe 10 interceptions. Again, like you could say he had a good preseason all you want. Were other team starters out there against him?
Of course
if they
not.
were they out there long?
I don't think he played against a single starting caliber unit at any point during the preseason.
It was like, he had the best preseason out of all the rookies. Like, yeah, he was playing against guys trying to make the roster. And again, for what it's worth, I still think the Patriots made a mistake. This guy should have been the third quarterback off the board, not Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
45 touchdowns in college to 3 interceptions. I don't care that he's quote unquote older. 45 touchdowns to 3 interceptions.
I also don't care that he's a quote unquote check down maven. That does not impact me whatsoever.
Check down. Who the hell said that? They must not have watched Bo Nix in college.
Well, a lot of his passes in Oregon were at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage.
Who?
His numbers say that.
45. Okay, whatever. 45 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It's 45 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I don't care. They can. Oh, he's checked. Yeah, they was winning games too. Like, what are we talking about here? And again, the bar for quarterbacks in Denver, not named Peyton Manning, is pretty fucking low. So it's not like he has. It's not like he has much to surpass.
I mean, his yards attempt are over 11.
Like what? Again, that's
4,500 yards. I mean, he's not checking down every time.
That's not checking down.
No.
Like,
and he had some, speedy receivers out there too with him. So yeah, he wasn't checking down all that much. For Oregon, it seemed like it, but they were putting 70 points up. 60, 70 points up.
I also but he gets all that yak. Anyways, when he comes to his yards per attempt. Anyways, yeah, I do partnering him with the wide receiver that he's familiar with, Troy Franklin. He played in Oregon together. I think Bo Nix is going to be good. I'm not sure how good Denver will be as a team, but I think this is the right decision. I mean, I look at the roster. I'm like Jared Stidham. I think you know what he is at this point. We for sure know what Zach Wilson is at this point. Bo Nix is going to get the opportunity to start. I think he's a good pairing for Sean Payton in this offense. To the next storyline, let's talk about Patrick Surtain. He's arguably one of the most underrated corners, one of the best corners in the NFL. But how good do you guys think he really is when it comes to the echelon of corners in the NFL? And how good do you think this defense is going to be next season?
Pat Surtain, he's probably top 5. If I have to think about it, like no particular order. Jalen Johnson, healthy Jair Alexander, Sauce Gardner. Yeah, him, Denzel Ward.
I mean, he's for sure in that conversation. Like he's in that upper echelon. We're talking top 5. I mean, if he was on a better football team, he would be talking about him as DPOY candidate potentially. He's been that good at the corner. He's been that good at the cornerback position for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, but I'm not going that far. Unless you were DB breaking records, unless you breaking the interception record, you ain't winning no DPOY award.
Oh, that's fair.
Stephon, it's been 6 years since Stephon Gilmore did it, and that's a long, and people still quote unquote call that controversial.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He would probably squeeze in the top 5 too. I mean, you can add in Jalen Ramsey in there. Stephen, maybe Slay or Gilmore can crack that top 5, 7 spot. I mean, you got a lot of guys in there, but
it's a lot of dudes.
The fact that TJ brought up a good point. I mean, if he was on a better team, defensively especially, I mean, he would probably get more, credit for, where it's due, especially with the unit rankings, being in the bottom half.
Yeah,
with the passing defense was in the bottom half, and the run defense was worse. So, but him as a whole, he's definitely top.
In total defense.
Yeah,
but those numbers are inflated a little bit by the 70 steamer that they gave up to Miami in Week 3.
That's one game. Don't do that. That's one game. That is one game.
So the defensive numbers are a little bit inflated, right? Because you gave up 70 points in one game. But I think that this defense is still going to struggle. I'm not sure where the pass rush is going to come from the Denver Broncos. So this may be a defense that's just not that good this season. And there might be a Denver Bronco, Vance Joseph in year 2 as a defensive coordinator. I think it'll be interesting to see how good this defense actually is under Vance Joseph. I'm not that optimistic.
No, I mean, it's going to struggle again, especially with, the Raiders, getting, their act together in the second half, and we'll see how they, go this year when they are starting to get things going. I mean, I know Devontae Adams is not happy again, but when is he ever? But you still have Kansas City to deal with, the Chargers, rush game that we spoke about last night. So, yeah, it could be a pretty rough go for the defense again for Denver in year 2.
To the final storyline that we're following here for the Denver Broncos is let's talk about Sean Payton. He comes in. This is going to be season number 3. Doesn't really work out with Russell Wilson for the first 2 years. Is he on the hot seat? Yes or no?
No.
No. I'd say it's mild at best.
What'd you say?
Mild at best. But he came into the situation.
Bro, it's
so give it time. He finally, is getting his quarterback now. So
I think if the scenario was different, if they hadn't traded a first-round pick to bring in Sean Payton and all that noise, I think there would be 100% the conversation about, is Sean Payton the right coach to be continuing to be the part of this Denver Broncos team? And you bring him in to coach Russell Wilson, that doesn't work out. If the Bo Nix doesn't work out, I think he's got 2 seasons. This season's probably a throwaway. You see what Bo Nix can do, but next season, I think the seat's going to be super hot for Sean Payton if he can't turn this Denver Broncos team around, because they're not going to be
No,
they're not going to keep Sean
wrong
Payton and continue to pay him.
No, the wrong person is on the hot seat. Why am I getting blamed? I'm sorry, I just got here. Elway, that's who needs to be on the hot seat. But you can't say that though. You can't say John Elway is on the hot seat. No, if it wasn't for Peyton Manning, John Elway would probably already be gone. Let's
100%.
be real.
He's
like Tim Tebow, colossal failure. Didn't work. Didn't work.
He also drafted Paxton Lynch. Didn't work out with him.
Couldn't even see the field. Brock Osweiler didn't work. Trevor
Siemian.
What? Didn't work. Like Drew Lock probably didn't get enough. My opinion, didn't get enough opportunity. That's just me though. But it didn't.
Well, I mean, he was also banged up for a majority of his tenure in Denver. But yeah, that never really worked out either.
Didn't work.
But yeah, I don't think he's necessarily on the hot seat. But I think the seat is not as hot, not as cool as it was when you first hired him. That's for sure. But how many coaches get to stay? Like, you coach 3 seasons or 2 seasons and they don't go well. I mean, the conversation is probably going to be had at some point.
Again, the wrong person's on the hot seat. If there is a hot seat, it's the wrong person's on the hot seat. The coach has to clean up the mess the GM makes. What are we saying?
Well, John Elway's not going anywhere until he wants to retire. That's the sad thing.
No. That mindset is why a lot of that mindset is why a lot of teams are where they are. It ain't like they got this is new ownership in Denver, and they've been there for a little minute now. The ROI has to start hitting. They don't owe Elway a goddamn thing. They owe Elway absolutely nothing.
That's fair.
Bottom line, this dude hasn't gotten the job done.
It's true. I mean, yeah, especially at the quarterback position, he's whiffed on a lot of draft picks. The Russell Wilson trade has been a disaster.
And let's not even go there. Like, that wasn't even the original plan.
No, it wasn't. We all know what the original plan.
Russell Wilson was not supposed to be there.
He was the consolation prize for sure.
He wasn't even that. He wasn't even a consolation prize.
No, he was, because they wanted Aaron Rodgers. That's why they hired. What's his name to be the head coach.
That's why they hired Hackett.
Yeah, Hackett, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna get Aaron Rodgers," and then they ended up staying in Green Bay, and then the rest is all history. But moving on from there, let's talk about their draft. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Bo Nix. He's going to be the starting quarterback of this team. They did not have a second-round pick, probably because of the Russell Wilson trade. Then they took an edge rusher out of Utah to try to shore up that position. They took a wide receiver, Troy Franklin out of Oregon. They took a corner. They took another running back out of Notre Dame. They took another wide receiver out of Utah, and then they took an interior offensive lineman out of South Carolina. Thoughts on their draft?
I mean, you got to work with what you got. I mean, you got to work with what you got. Bo Nix, my opinion, still at 12. Bo Nix should have been at 3. Bo Nix wholeheartedly should have been at 3. Jonah Ellis, again, Utah a team full of dogs. They fall in that West Coast bias a little bit. You got to stay up to about 9:00 to watch Utah play on TV. But you're gonna get a good product. They don't want the Pac-12. What, Matt? The last
they've been contenders with Oregon and Washington up there for several years now.
They've been fighting. His last season in Utah, 16 tackles for loss and 12 sacks. Pretty good numbers. And the Denver Broncos have not had a guy with at least 10 sacks. Do you know the last player in Denver to do that, and how many they had with at least 10? Von Miller. Do you remember the year?
Von Miller, 2015.
Super Bowl 50, whatever year that was.
2018. 2018. He had 14 and a half in 2018. So they have not had an edge rusher finish with more than 10 sacks in 8 years. math. That's not math. In 6 years, whatever. But yeah, I mean, he had 12 sacks last year at Utah. 248 pounds at the combine. He's going to be a pretty decent player. He should be a plug-and-play starter. Troy Franklin had 1,300 yards receiving and 14 touchdowns his last season at Oregon. He also had 8 100-yard games while he was there that last season at Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, there you go with,
4.41.
Nick had his guys to throw to at Oregon. And speaking of the Utah again, they've had guys come in, off the trenches and everything. And I find that Ellis is a real nice pick to come in and possibly take over at some point if he can put the work in. So he's had
there's going to be all the opportunity
at Oregon.
there's going to be opportunity
Utah,
there in Denver at the wide receiver position. I mean, Tim Patrick got released and then picked up by the Lions. They traded away Jerry Jeudy. It's really only Cortland Sutton and whatever they're going to be having at tight end, Greg Olchich or whatever. So there's going to be opportunity for him to earn playing time for this team.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other wide receiver out of Utah, he ran a 4.47 in the 40-yard dash. He's also 6'4", 203. Like, he's a big, big guy.
I think they got to steal that out of Audric Estime, the running back out of Notre Dame. He should be able to come in right away and play. Again, you got to work with what you got. When you trade the farm to get Russell Wilson, and it goes like it doesn't go your way. Like, you look what Seattle got with those draft picks, a Devon Witherspoon, a whole treasure trove. You're basically building from the ground up if you're Denver, and that's why Sean Payton's not on the hot seat. Look at what John Elway gave me to work with.
And then the corner has 4.4 speed. The kid out of Missouri, 5'11", 179 pounds. He's going to have to bulk up for sure. But there's going to be an opportunity for him to earn playing time on the other side of Patrick Surtain, as they really don't have a second corner. I mean, they did bring in Levi Wallace in free agency, but I don't think he's a long-term answer there.
Missouri
the kid
does not get talked about enough. Missouri.
I mean, they were really good last season.
Missouri quietly wins at least 7.
What did they win? Did they win 11 games last year or 10 games? I think they only had 2 losses, right?
On average, they've won about at least 9 games the last handful of years. When people say that, I think what was it Darren? I think Darren Orlovsky picked them as a dark horse in the SEC, and everybody's laughing at him. It's like, why is that? Bama's not expected. I mean, Bama's expected to be there, but they're not expected to be there. Everybody goes to Georgia now, and Georgia's going to have to play somebody. And Missouri's built a good program now. Kentucky ain't just a basketball school anymore. Like, Missouri is going to be – they're going to be there. And, yeah, they're going to be solid. Denver, on the other hand, we don't know. I got to see what Denver's schedule like.
Well, we'll take a look at it here in a second. And then the kid from South Carolina, he played 5 seasons at Yale, including a COVID-19 year. Then he transferred over to South Carolina. He played left tackle, center, left guard while playing in college. So he gives you some versatility. For sure out of the center position.
And we know he's smart.
Yeah, I mean, he went to Yale. I mean, I love what the Denver Broncos did with their draft. I think taking Bo Nix, getting kind of a steal at 12. I like Ellis. I'm gonna go B plus.
I don't hate that.
Yeah, I like the B plus range for this draft. Can move into A minus if it works out.
I mean,
especially in the back end.
They got the most pro-ready quarterback out of all of them.
Moving on from there, let's talk about roster shakeup. Their notable additions: they traded for Zach Wilson and John Franklin Myers in the same trade. They brought in Levi Wallace, and then the main departures: Russell Wilson, Justin Simmons, Jerry Jeudy, Lloyd Cushenberry, Joycey Jewell. I didn't have it on this because this happened today, but Tim Patrick obviously got released. I think they kind of did him kind of dirty, but that's just me. I wouldn't have released Tim Patrick. I think he's based on what he's gone through. I think he's earned an opportunity to try to make that roster. There wasn't people chopping at the bit to replace Tim Patrick. I don't understand that decision at all.
Man,
they also,
era.
I mean, I guess, but
New era.
they bring in Mike. They lose Mike Purcell, also who's an interior defensive lineman. Lloyd Cushenberg, a big time loss. Fabian Monroe, his corner. I guess we don't really care that much. But I mean, the big names. I mean, Justin Simmons, the guy they released, who was a good football player for this team. But this is all feels like a reaction. The fact that they have the largest dead cap hit in the history of the NFL, and what happens? You lose Justin Simmons. You lose Jerry Jeudy. You lose Lloyd Cushenberry. You lose Joyce Jewell. And the only guy you can replace them with is Levi Wallace. This is what happens when you go for the farm. You try to push your chips to the middle. It doesn't work out.
But at the same time, you can't blame them for pushing.
Oh no, I'm not blaming them. This is what happens when you lose that game.
And yeah, like I said, it's you say you don't understand them getting rid of Tim Patrick. I do. It sucks. It does. But at the same time, what have you done for me lately? Oh, get injured. What good are you doing me on IR?
That's fair.
Like at the end of the day, it's messed up. It's cutthroat. But as much as this is a game, it's a business.
The NFL is a business, and we understand that.
Justin Simmons. It's a time for a change. This shit ain't worked. We said it for years that on paper, Denver's got one of the best rosters out there, but we don't play games on paper.
Not usually, anyways. And yeah, I mean, but this is what happens when you have to take all the dead cap money. But yeah, it sucks. I mean, this is what happens though.
Just like we said for the whole Drew Lock era, hey, y'all are a quarterback away from being really goddamn good, from challenging the Chiefs and being the thorn in their side because y'all had the talent to match their talent and so on and so forth. It just didn't happen. It sucks. It sucks. Welcome to the life of a Bears fan the last 18 years.
It's true. But with that being said, I can't go any higher than a C for the roster shakeup. I think they actively made this team worse with the decisions they made this offseason.
They didn't have a choice to an extent. It's when you eat $83 million or however much that cap
68 or whatever it is, 68, I think. Something like that.
What?
A lot.
Hey, what did we expect to happen?
I mean, yeah, I'm aware, but it's still bad business. It's a C plus.
C plus. I mean, you push your chips all in and fail miserably. I mean, you don't get better than a C minus. To be honest, I mean, especially with the setback that you lose some valuable players because of this. All because possibly just one position at quarterback that didn't work out.
And truth be told, like other players,
and you lose half your roster because of it.
I mean, he wasn't. I mean, let's not pretend like he was the only guy. I mean, Jerry Jeudy. I mean, he came in with all this hype, really never lived up for it. This defense was woefully underachieving last season, even with some big names on their roster. I mean, it was a complete collapse from top to bottom when it comes to this roster last season. It wasn't just Russell Wilson, but he was obviously the catalyst, and he's going to collect the most of the blame. But there was a lot going wrong with Denver last season outside of just the quarterback position.
Yep.
From there, let's talk about the schedule. And yesterday, when we did the Los Angeles Chargers, we did the floor for second. So we're gonna start with the floor for the Denver Broncos. TJ, let me hit me with the floor for Denver this season.
5-12, 4-13.
Looking at their schedule, like it is not an easy schedule to say the least. Like, no. Like you go to the road for a bunch of your tough games, and then You have to play the Chiefs twice because they're in your division. You got Cincinnati because for some reason you finished. This is a real tough schedule, a real tough break for a team that's kind of and needs to rebuild and kind of could have used a cupcake schedule. I mean, looking at it, I'm not sure where
Yeah.
even 5 wins even come from. I think they could beat Carolina in their house. I think they can split with the Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers, but that's it. I don't have them winning another game. 3-14
You're
at the
looking
ceiling.
at
Yeah.
you're looking at a team that could literally start off 0-4. Maybe get one against the Raiders because who the hell is throwing them? I mean, I respect Gardner Minshew, but
Hey man, Gardner Minshew in the Mania. Come on.
man, I disagree.
Carolina.
I disagree with the split with the Chargers. I think the Chargers gonna sweep them. Yeah, I disagree with that.
Okay, 2 wins.
You can beat New Orleans. We ain't finna act like New Orleans is the house of horrors it used to be. You can beat Carolina. Baltimore, no. Kansas City, no. Atlanta, no. Maybe sweep the Raiders, but I don't see it. Not on the road. You're not beating Cleveland. That's also a super late bye. They bogus for that.
Yeah. Starting a rookie season. You're starting a rookie quarterback. Your bye isn't until week 12. Fuck.
Week 12.
And then the final 4 games after your bye, I don't see how they win any of those. I mean, you got to go to SoFi, you got to go to Cincinnati, you got to go Kansas Arrowhead. I mean, they come there. I mean, they had some success against Kansas City, but it's going to be tough. On the other side of the coin, let's talk about the ceiling. I think the ceiling is closer to what TJ mentioned originally with like 5 or 6 wins. I just can't see a world where they win more than that. Like I think they can sweep the Raiders. I think they can get that game in Pittsburgh potentially, just because of the motivation that they're going to have to win that game, especially because it's going to be a mile high, especially if Russell Wilson's the quarterback for the Steelers. But
why are they motivated?
The Broncos to beat the Steelers?
Yeah.
If Russell Wilson, because they want to beat Russell Wilson. That's the motivation. I think they can still beat Carolina. They can beat New Orleans. Maybe they can split with the Chargers. But that's still only like 6 games that I think they can win. I think they can go to Seattle and win that game potentially too, as being the highest of upside, highest of optimism. So what is that? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. 7 and 9. At the very 7 and 10. Sorry, math. That's the ceiling. Like their absolute peak of what they can be this season is a 7-10 football team. If things go really bad and really south, 2-15.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I have ceiling more at 6. I mean,
11.
Yeah, steal a couple games in the beginning, like a game or 2. Then after that, it gets rough to the point where it's like you're nitpicking for wins.
Super nitpicking.
It's true.
It's a little too nitpicky at this point. They have a rough schedule, as mentioned, especially for a team that struggled last year and is ending up with teams that are going to be coming out, firing away like Cincinnati.
I mean, you draw the AFC North and the NFC South. I mean, that's a tough break. And then you get sprinkle the Jets in there as well. Like,
your saving grace is you got teams that also have question marks about them. Seattle, what team are we getting? Are we getting year 1 Geno Smith, or are we getting the Geno Smith that we got last year? You're hoping that either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields figures this thing out. Tampa Bay, can Baker Mayfield show that he's worth the money that he got, or was last season just a one-hit wonder? The Jets, is Aaron Rodgers going to be there by this point? That's a serious question. I understand it's super early, but it's the first month of the season. Anything can happen. The Raiders, it's what are we doing? Question marks. The Chargers, again, new everything. New head coach. You got Justin Herbert.
I mean, their entire offensive weapons,
Entire offense is brand new.
Joshua Palmer's the only one.
And they released Donald Parham today. Quentin Johnson couldn't catch a pass from me to this paper plate that's sitting in front of me. He had concrete hands. Right? I said what the Saints are. Alvin Kamara might be gone by that point. So serious. Carolina is Carolina, and then Baltimore ain't got no question marks. Baltimore's question marks are postseason question marks.
Kansas. I mean, Atlanta. We don't really know what Kirk Cousins is. We haven't seen him yet. So what this offense is going to look like with him.
We ain't seen Kirk Cousins in a year. Like Kyle Pitts is on a do not draft list in fantasy football. Y'all know I don't give a damn about fantasy football, but that's a talking point because why is one of the most electrifying tight ends on a do not draft list? Crazy. Well, Cleveland, hey, Deshaun Watson, bruh. You better figure this shit out. Like you.
This is probably his last shot, so he's gonna have to figure it out.
If I gotta dust another Joe Flacco off, bro, you gone. We think Russell Wilson. We think Russell Wilson. Oh my! If they say, "Hey, we got to eat this dead money," bro, you gonna be. Whew,
and then the Colts. We don't really know. Anthony Richardson didn't look good in the preseason. We only saw him in 4 games. He only finished 2 of those his first season.
And then
Cincinnati.
Hey, is Joe Burrow gonna be around? Serious question. Is Jamar Chase gonna? How are they replacing Joe Mixon? We talked about that when we did their season preview, and then by Kansas City by this point is either resting everybody or they need that number 1 seed and they just gonna say, hey, you know what? We finna put y'all out y'all misery, and that's about that.
But I think what's realistic is probably like 5 wins for Denver this season. I think they're probably going to be a top 5 pick. It'll be interesting to see what this team looks like next season.
And that's also what you call it interesting, because if they're top 5, not saying that you're probably not going to go this route again, but this upcoming draft is super quarterback heavy again.
So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't think they'll take a quarterback. I think
I don't either. I don't either. But at the same time, there's no Marvin Harrison Jr. in this draft class. Marvin Harrison Jr. was still.
The number 1 pick. Like, so if New England, like if they end up like mock drafts that I've seen, that offensive tackle, I can't remember his name. He's the number 1 pick.
I've seen mocks with Shedeur Sanders. I've seen mocks with...
Well, I mean, this is with Denver. Like, if New England gets the first pick, I mean, they're not taking a quarterback either.
Bullshit.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, this has been our Denver Broncos season preview. Thank you very much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I'm not sure if we're going to do the Raiders on tomorrow or Thursday. I got something I got to do tomorrow, so we'll see what my schedule is looking like. But thank you very much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. David Huffman, Matt James, TJ Hopkins. Gentlemen, what do we do here at the Prime, my friends?
We bring
the heat.
That shit can go away.
I'm all out of the heat, dude.
I am so over it.
I'm ready for fall. I'm ready for hoodie weather for sure. We'll be back here tomorrow or Thursday. You guys all have a good night. Stay safe out there. Peace out, gentlemen.